Welcome back everyone for another retro scam where we are going to go over Nintendo 64 games. So yesterday morning I got on Facebook Market and I was kind of looking at a few things on there, and that's when I realized there's an insane amount of Nintendo 64 scammery going on right now. So if you start with the picture on the right, that Majora's Mask game, one thing to note if you see any of the gold cartridges, the Zelda games do not have any of that glittery effect on them. So that's kind of an instant giveaway that it's a fake one. The Zelda cartridge in the middle, I actually had them send an additional picture because I'll show you on the ones that I have, but there's a spot to look on the back of them to tell they're not legit. But if you look at that bold font on the bottom, that was kind of a giveaway that it was a fake one. And then the one on the left is just kind of show that they even sell like multiple fake ones in a row, and they'll say they're new, they'll say all sorts of stuff like that. The one on the right, it does say that I sent them a message. I actually contacted the seller of that, letting them know that it was a fake. So they actually went back through to all of theirs and added reproduction to the description. But some of them, like the one in the center, I contacted, and that seller actually had no clue it was a reproduction. So I mean, I guess one thing is don't get upset at people who are selling reproductions because they may not know they are reproductions. They may have been scammed out of their money at some point, or they may have picked it up at a garage sale, not knowing that it was a fake game. But the goal of these videos is to help make sure that if you are picking up at a garage sale or if you're buying it on Facebook Marketplace, that you know what to look for. So now back to our regularly scheduled programming. So if you look here, we have Mario Kart 64 and we have Diddy Kong Racing. One of these is real in each one and one is fake. Using Diddy Kong Racing as an example though, if the balloons are cut off on there, then it's not a legit label. There will be balloons over on the side if it's a legit label. So the back of the cartridge is where a lot of the magic is on this one. So when it comes to Nintendo 64 games in general, the back label, there we go, I got the light on there just right. The back label has one of those numbers on it. So this one has a 31 engraved on it. The fakes do not have the engraving, plus their label for some reason on the back is extremely shiny, and it doesn't look like it's seated right. But, I mean, some of that stuff's hard to tell if someone just puts a picture up on Facebook Marketplace or eBay. Then the next thing to look for might be a little more difficult to see on, like, the camera right here. If you look at the eye on there, the dot above the eye is like a little rectangle, which is usually a giveaway because a circle is above the eye is a full giveaway that it's fake. But this fake actually has the rectangle above the eye. So if you look at this fake for Mario Kart, it's above the eye is a circle. So if there is a circle above the eye, that's 100% giveaway that it's a fake. But for some reason, fakes, I guess, are getting a little better for these, which is kind of scary and sad. And then the right side, that's the fake. The left side is the real one for Diddy Kong Racing. If you look, the screws are in the system a lot deeper on the real version. So then looking at the Mario Karts, can you tell which one's real, which one's fake? So the one on the right is the real one. The one on the left is the fake one. I don't know why, but I've seen it sometimes where people have the fake ones and they try to destroy the label. It's like they know it's fake and they want to try to hide evidence that it's fake based on the label. So once again, based on the labels, I mean, you're not really going to have a legit copy of Mario Kart 64 everywhere you go to compare. But one thing to note is the ink is kind of blurry on the label for Mario Kart 64, the fake version. And that one's easy to see. On the real version, the number that's embossed into the back of it. And then the fake version does not have that. So this is where it's more noticeable for the difference, where there's the rectangle on the eye for Nintendo and the circle for the eye on Nintendo on the fake one. And then the screws are the same way on these as they are with the new fake version of Diddy Kong Racing. The screws stick out more on the fake one than they do on the real one. Now another thing that I've seen on some of the fake versions, if you have a Japanese game, you can see the indentation is over there on there, when on the North America ones it's over here. So some of the fake ones will actually have the cutout down here stretches all the way over to there. So it's so it can work in any of the different consoles. That's how they region lock the old cartridges. So if that indentation is not just right there on the corner, if it goes all the way over to like line up almost where the label is, then that's definitely going to be a fake. So let's go ahead and dissect Mario Kart 64 first. If you are new to the channel, what you use to take apart a Nintendo 64 cartridge is a 3.6mm line head screwdriver or a 3.8mm game bit. They're interchangeable names. And also, if you're going to be touching the board of any of these games, make sure you are grounded out. Well, so far, other than the cheaper feeling and looking plastic, there's not really a definitive giveaway on which one's real and which one's not, just by popping that first panel off. I wasn't expecting the fake one to have the little metal shield in there. And the fake one does not have any screws in there. Then pulling from the back, you lift these shields off. I was not expecting to see a battery in the fake version. So you can find a list of games online of which ones for Nintendo 64 use a save battery. Mario Kart is not one of them, neither is Diddy Kong Racing. Because starting with Game Boy Advance, Nintendo started using the flash for saving, so you don't really have as many batteries except for timed events in the Pokemon games, things like that. Or a handful of games on Nintendo 64 that do still use a battery. So one of the key things to look at has Nintendo up here with a date by it. Also, the front of the shell on the label has NUS NKTE. Double check that both of the big chips have something that matches that. So NUS NKTE on both of these big ones. So it's not really that easy to see on this chip here. But that chip and the writing right below it both say NUS. They don't have the NKTE, but they'll both say NUS on them. And then the fake one, once again, Mario Kart 64 is not one of the games that has a battery on it. There's no marking anywhere on the board that it's a Nintendo. It does say Fujitsu on one of the chips. And then that label is pretty worn off on the big chip to tell exactly what company it is. And the real chip has a whole bunch of solder points on the back. The fake one does not. Then we'll take a quick dive into Diddy Kong Racing. I do have to say, the fake ones, getting the bottom on and off is a lot tougher than with the real ones. So just like with Mario Kart, I'm having the fake one will be on the top, the real one on the bottom, just for consistency. So this one right away is a little tougher to tell. And once again, there are no screws on the fake one. But, I mean, the scary thing is they're making fakes look more like the real things now. So undo the screws on the real one, and then pop these metal shells up. At least on the boards right away you can tell a difference in these. So I did notice the fake ones do not have these big capacitors on them. I don't know if that's the same for all of them, but that's something I've noticed with these two. Once again, we have the real board. It has Nintendo with the date next to it. The case has NUS NDYE on the bottom. The biggest chip also has that on it. And then this medium-sized chip and the board also both have NUS on them. Plus the back of the board has a bunch of solder points on it. Then the fake one doesn't have anything exciting on it. It just has a few chips and stuff. This one doesn't even have a battery on it. Doesn't have one of the big capacitors on it. And there's like nothing soldered into the back on there. So next we're going to test these out and see how they work in the system, but as far as the main things, like since you won't always be able to carry a Nintendo 64 everywhere you go, or have a hookup for it, the main things to look for would be the number on the label on the back, the rectangle eye, which isn't always the case for it. These newer fakes are getting a little better about that, which is kind of scary. Oh, these fakes are not fun to take apart and put back together. Oh, they're set up differently, so you have to put them together and then pop the bottom down instead of slide the shell over those. That's weird. And then I'm usually not a labels guy, but look at the label on price charting, just kind of make sure that that it matches. Make sure that, which these ones aren't good examples of this one, but make sure that indentation is just kind of right there on the corner, that it doesn't extend all the way to the label. And then if the screws, if the top is pretty much flush with the shell, then that's a warning sign to look at. And then if you get a chance to look at the board inside, from the ones that I've seen, they have those big capacitors in them if they're the real ones. Plus they'll say Nintendo, they'll have the date, and then that number on the front is going to match the chip on the board. Plus the first part there will match the medium size or smaller chip, and then also another section on the board. If there are any other ways that people know to test this stuff, then let me know. Otherwise, we're going to put these in the Nintendo 64 and see what they do. We will start with the real Mario Kart 64, just as a baseline. So yeah, we have Mario Kart 64. Let's see what the fake one looks like. Well, that's not good. I'll just put it to the side. We'll try Diddy Kong Racing. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time to try to get a fake game working. For Diddy Kong Racing, we'll actually start with the fake one. There we go, this fake one works. This game's always so much fun. If you've never played it, you should give it a try. Growing up, I always used Conquer. Okay, so that works. Now we'll put the real one in there. So as far as the console is concerned, they are the same game, it looks like. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, there are more characters you can unlock in the game. So yeah, just make sure you're very cautious when you purchase a Nintendo 64 game from anyone, especially if it's someone that you do not know. Because if it's someone you do know, they could have been scammed themselves. If it's someone you don't know, don't be mean to them because they could have been scammed. It's just something like I was reading stories about it where people would buy games from garage sales, and when they'd get home and look up online, they'd find out that they actually bought a counterfeit version of the game. I mean, the counterfeit versions do work, so if you're just wanting something that works, then, I mean, I guess that could be a thing, but if you're wanting the real version, then make sure you know what to look for. Look for on the back label that it has that number on there. The front label, I mean, I've talked about in other videos, I don't really rely on front labels that much, but it's kind of a dead giveaway with some of these, where especially if they feel like they're cheap plastic and they have a blurry front label, then it's a warning sign. And also you can compare the label with price charting. If you go to pricecharting.com, look up the game on there, you can see pictures that people put of the game. And then if you can go somewhere and bring one of these and a Phillips screwdriver to take the game apart if they allow you to do that, then you can see on the chip itself if it's a real one or not. And just having a game in excellent condition doesn't necessarily mean it's fake, because this is the Diddy Kong Racing I had as a kid, and it's in really good condition. Also, for a case of this one, don't assume because it's worn down and scratched up and everything that it's a real one, because this was not real. Hey, I gave it one last try and it actually started up. I did the old blow in the cartridge trick. So if you have any other ways of spotting these fake games and everything for Nintendo 64, then please leave messages in the comments, because I'm sure there are other ways people have found that I am unaware of at this moment. Also, if you found this helpful, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And I want to thank you for watching. Have a nice day.